So the same thing kind of always happens when a new phone is announced. The media gets the device ahead of time, maybe a couple days, a couple weeks if we're lucky, and we get to use it while we're preparing our review. Then the date and time of the press embargo arrives, the embargo lifts, everybody posts their review at once, and it is a giant, big frenzy of activity. There's commenters going nuts and defenders and attackers, and it's just a huge explosion for about a day. And then everything disappears. I mean, sure, there's follow-up coverage and stuff as people find bugs, people have other stuff to say about the devices, they wear them in over the course of a day or so, but really, nobody ever goes back and revisits these devices after that initial blast of review to see how they feel after a couple weeks. So let's do something about it. Let's have a look at a device when it's a couple weeks after release and not shiny and new anymore. I'm Michael Fisher with Pocketnow.com. This is the Nokia Lumia 900, and this is episode 1 of After the Buzz. So in reviews, we try and cover the good and bad, but we don't always have enough time to cover all the details we'd like to and see how much of a big deal maybe one of these issues is. So let's see what a couple weeks worth of marinating have done for our opinion of the Lumia 900. I've tried to use it as my daily driver without using my Galaxy Nexus as a crutch for about 2 weeks. Okay, first up is hardware. Now, I've been rather gentle with my Lumia 900 in the 2 weeks or so I've been using it, and that shows. On the whole, the device holds up rather well to long-term use if you're not a contractor carrying it around without a case on a job site. Now, I've had clean hands most of the time as well, so I haven't seen much dirt or grime picked up by the polycarbonate, even on the cyan version here. One thing that hasn't held up all that well, though, is that soft metal that makes up the bezel surrounding the camera. And the most rough and tumble action this phone has seen is going into and out of pockets and sitting on some tabletops. And the metal, though, looks like it was put through a clothes dryer with a whole bunch of pocket change in it. But granted, it's not too noticeable unless you dwell on it and get it in the exact right kind of light here, but this is only after 2 weeks. I can't imagine what this will look like after 2 months. It reminds me of the old, easily scratched iPods. This is seriously going to hurt the resale value of this phone. The only other issue I had with the hardware over the long term was that it hurt me. Physically. Even though, as I mentioned in my last video, I absolutely love the hardware design, it really isn't all that comfortable to hold for long periods, and it actually gave me a blister. Yes, I'm totally serious, and here's the photo to prove it. The Lumia 900 gave me a blister. Now, the answer to that is, of course, to go out and do more hard work or whatever, and maybe it's true that I have soft hands, but I thought it was hilarious. I did adapt to holding the device a different way and switch to my left hand on occasion, but yeah, it's the price you pay for cutting-edge design. Waka waka. As for the display, obviously we're not working with an HD panel on this device, but in the time that I've been using the phone as my primary device, it hasn't bothered me. Can you tell the difference between this and, say, the One X? Absolutely. But this is a serviceable display at least, and the saturation and clear black are amazing. What about the software? For a user of many platforms, how does Nokia's take on the Windows Phone 7 platform hold up after a few weeks? Really not bad at all. I touched on this in my 1X versus Nokia Lumia video, but Windows Phone 7 continues to be the most capable underdog platform out there. Now, despite the app gap, I found most of the apps I needed, even specialty ones like Boston area bus tracking applications, and even some games and specialty apps I grew rather attached to that I couldn't find on other platforms. I am mildly concerned about the amount of abandonware in the marketplace, but we'll just have to see how that plays out. The camera continues to be the low point on this device. While photos in ample lighting are okay, too much lighting really overwhelms the sensor, and too little lighting results in a ton of noise. The built-in software is simple, but lacking in features, and the inconsistent performance of the pocket-to-picture feature that Adam Lean mentioned in his review is a real annoyance. Other annoyances, like the sometimes scrolling bug on Windows Phone, can really get under your skin as well, and the anemic 16 gigs of memory doesn't allow me to carry my music collection around with me. Windows Phone still has some shortcomings. There's concern about this device not being upgradable to Windows 8, and the Metro UI isn't quite as fresh as it used to be, but we've talked about all these things in other venues. The question I want to answer today is, about 6 weeks after the initial launch of the Lumia 900, would I still recommend it to an average user, one of my friends, and expect him or her to be happy with the device? In short, yes, absolutely. This is a more than capable smartphone with excellent performance on AT&T's network in the United States, and I wouldn't be worried about anyone coming after me for my head for recommending this device. This has been Michael with Pocketnow.com. Thanks for joining me for the first episode of After the Buzz. If you liked what you saw, give us a thumbs up. If you wanted to leave a comment, please do so on the post at Pocketnow.com, not here on YouTube. And we'll see you next time.